Financial feminism, ownership, income, freedom. Financial feminism, more options, more ownership, more freedom.
Welcome back to Financial Feminism. I'm Dr. Tonika Bruce, and every week we're having conversations that many of us should have been having years ago. Not because women aren't capable, not because women aren't intelligent, but because somewhere along the way, many of us were taught how to work hard without even ever being taught how to own. And today I want to talk about one word that I believe has the power to completely change your financial future: ownership. Not because everyone needs to quit their job, not because everyone should become an entrepreneur, but because ownership changes the way you think. It changes the questions you ask. It changes the decisions you make. It changes what you leave behind. If you've been following this journey with me, we've already talked about money shame. We've talked about why so many successful women still feel financially insecure. Today, we're taking the next step. We're moving from healing to building. So grab your notebook. This episode may completely change the way you think about money. When I ask women a simple question, what do you own? Most people immediately start naming things, like my car, my house, my furniture, my jewelry, my retirement account. And those aren't bad answers, but they're incomplete because ownership is bigger than possessions. Ownership is influence. Ownership is opportunity. Ownership is options. Ownership is having something that continues creating value whether you're working today or not. Think about it. If you stop going to work tomorrow, what continues working for you? For many women, nothing. And that's not criticism, it's awareness. Because almost every one of us grew up hearing the same advice: go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, work hard, retire someday. There's nothing wrong with that path. It's created incredible opportunities for millions of women. But here's the question I want you to wrestle with today: is your income your only strategy? Because if the answer is yes, then your financial future depends almost entirely on your ability to continue working. What happens if you get sick? Need to care for a parent? Want to spend more time with your children? Choose to work less? Want to volunteer? Want to travel? Want to retire earlier? When income stops, what continues? And that question changed my life, not because I suddenly became wealthy, but because I realized I'd been measuring my progress by income instead of ownership. They're not the same thing. You can make a great income and own very little. You can also earn a modest income while slowly building assets that create more opportunities over time. That's the shift we're making today, from earning to owning. When we come back, I'm going to introduce a framework that's completely changed the way I think about financial growth. I call it the ownership ladder, and I think every woman should understand it. Financial Feminism is presented by OwnThePurse.com. If today's conversation is helping you see money differently, download your free ownership resources. Join our community of women building financial confidence together and discover tools designed to help you move from earning to owning. Visit OwnThePurse.com to get you started. When we left off, I asked you one question: what continues working for you if you stop working? Now, don't answer too quickly. Really think about it. Because for years, if someone had asked me that question, my answer would have been nothing. And maybe that's your answer today, too. And if it is, don't feel discouraged, feel encouraged, because awareness is where change begins. You can't build what you don't first recognize is missing. So I want you to imagine something with me. Picture two women. They're both 45 years old. They both make 100,000 a year. Both are respected in their careers. Both have worked incredibly hard. On paper, they're almost identical. Now, let's look a little bit closer. The first woman has one stream of income, her paycheck. If she doesn't work, the money stops. The second woman also has a paycheck, but she also owns a small rental property. She owns investments. She wrote a book that earns royalties. She has a digital course. Maybe she owns part of a business. Maybe she owns land. Maybe, you know what, let's throw this in there. Maybe she invested in someone else's company. Her paycheck matters, but it isn't her entire financial identity. And here's the interesting part. They can earn the same amount, yet one woman has options the other doesn't. That word, options, that's what ownership creates. Ownership isn't about becoming rich. Ownership creates choices. The choice to take time off. The choice to care for your aging parents. The choice to start over. The choice to leave a toxic job. The choice to spend more time with your children. To volunteer. The choice to simply say no. Money doesn't always buy happiness, but ownership often buys options. And options reduce fear. That's why this conversation matters, because so many women have spent decades trying to earn more without ever asking, what am I building? Income is incredibly important. Please don't misunderstand me. Your career matters. Your profession matters. Your expertise matters. I'm a nurse. I've built businesses. I've worked hard for every opportunity I've had. I'm not against earning. I'm against believing earning is the finish line. It's the starting line. The goal isn't just to make money. The goal is to slowly convert today's income into tomorrow's ownership. That's a completely different mindset. And I want to introduce you to something I call the ownership ladder. This isn't an investment strategy, it's a way of thinking. So picture this, picture a ladder. Every rung represents another layer of financial stability. The first rung is income. That's where almost everyone starts. Someone pays you for your time or your talent or your expertise. There's dignity in that, so never underestimate honest work. The second rung is savings. Now, you're not simply earning. You're keeping part of what you earn at this point. You're creating margin. The third rung is investments. Your money begins doing some of the work instead of asking your body to do all of it. The fourth rung is assets. Assets are things that have the potential to create value over time. Sometimes they produce income. Sometimes they appreciate. Sometimes they even do both. The fifth rung is ownership. Now, this is where everything begins changing. Ownership could mean a business, a patent, a trademark, a book, real estate, dividend producing investments, a website, a piece of land, a valuable skill, intellectual property. See, ownership means you become accustomed to, or better yet, let's say you've begun creating something bigger than today's paycheck. Then there's the final rung, legacy. Legacy asks one question: what continues helping people after I'm gone? Think about that. That's a different way to measure success. Not how much did I make, but what did I build that continues blessing others? That's the financial feminism vision. Not more stuff, more significance. Not more consumption, more contribution. Not more comparison, more ownership. This episode of Financial Feminism is presented by OwnThePurse.com, where we're helping women build confidence through ownership. If today's conversation is challenging the way you've always thought about money, download the ownership resources and join thousands of women who are learning to move from earning to owning, one practical step at a time. So I want to tell you something that changed the trajectory of my own thinking. Years ago, I realized I had been asking the wrong question. Like many people, I kept asking, how can I make more money? That's not a bad question, but it's not the best question. The better question is, how can I turn today's income into something I'll still own 5 years from now? That one question changes how you spend. It changes how you save. It changes what you learn. It changes who you spend your time with. Yes, I said that. It changes the books you read. It even changes how you look at opportunities. Instead of asking, will this make me money today? You begin asking yourself, could this become an asset tomorrow? Maybe it's learning a skill no one can take away from you. Maybe it's buying your first share of an investment. Maybe it's purchasing a domain name for an idea you've been sitting on. Maybe it's writing the first chapter of the book you've talked about for years. It took me 20 years to write my first book. Maybe it's starting a side business that grows slowly while you keep your full-time job. Maybe it's simply paying off debt so more of your future income belongs to you instead of your past decisions. Ownership doesn't always begin with the purchase. Sometimes ownership begins with a decision. A decision that says, I refuse to let my paycheck be the only thing standing between me and my future. Remember, financial feminism isn't asking every woman to become a CEO. It's asking every woman to become an owner of something that creates value. That something will look different for each of us. For one woman, it may be a rental property. For another, it's a thriving business. For another, it's a portfolio of investments. For another, it's a book that reaches people long after it's published. The point isn't to copy someone else's path. The point is to stop believing your only path is earning more. Now, as we close today, I want to leave you with one challenge. Take out a piece of paper. Make 2 columns. In the first column, write everything that pays you. In the second column, write everything you own that has the potential to create value in the future. Don't judge the list, okay? Just look at it honestly and then ask yourself one question. 1 year from today, what do I want to add to the ownership column? That one answer may become the beginning of a completely different financial future. Because here's what I hope you'll remember long after this episode ends. Income pays today's bills. Ownership changes tomorrow's possibilities. Before we finish today, I want to ask you to do something that may feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, don't answer this question quickly. Don't answer with what sounds impressive. Answer honestly. If someone sat down across from you today and asked, "What do you own?" what would be your answer? Would you start listing things you've purchased? Your car, your home, your jewelry, your furniture? Or would you begin talking about the things you've intentionally built? Because again, those two are very different conversations. One conversation is about consumption. The other, it's about creation. And for years, I celebrated every promotion, every raise, every accomplishment, and I should have done that. That's true. I mean, hard work does deserve to be celebrated. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. I was spending a lot of time building my resume. I hadn't spent nearly enough time building my ownership. And maybe you felt that too. You've done everything people told you to do. You earned the degree. You worked overtime. You took care of your spouse and your children, your household. You became dependable. People trust you. People respect you. You're the one everyone calls when they need help. And yet, deep down, you still wonder if you're really getting ahead. Now, if that's you, I want you to hear me. You are not behind. You simply may have been following an incomplete roadmap. No one taught many of us how to ask ownership questions. Instead of asking, "How can I earn another $5,000?" what if we started asking, "What could I begin building with the money I already earn?" That's a completely different conversation because ownership doesn't always begin with the purchase. Sometimes ownership begins with permission. Permission to believe you're capable. Permission to learn. Permission to make mistakes. Permission to just start small. And I think sometimes we imagine ownership belonging to other people, people with more money, people with more education, or more connections and more confidence. But every business owner once had no business. Every investor bought a first investment. Every author wrote one blank page. Every woman who owns something today started by owning almost nothing. That's the beauty of ownership. It grows slowly, quietly, patiently. You don't wake up one morning with a legacy. You build one decision at a time. Now, I want to leave you with something practical. Tonight, before you go to bed, take out a notebook. Across the top of one page, write what I earn. And if you didn't do this earlier, pay attention now. Write what I earn. Across the top of another page, or the other half of the page, write what I own. Be honest, no one else is going to see it, just you. And then ask yourself one more question. If I kept living exactly like I am today, what would those two lists look like 5 years from now? Would your income grow while your ownership stays the same, or would both begin growing together? Because that's the future I want for you. Not simply a better paycheck, a stronger foundation, not simply more income, more influence, more options, more confidence, more ownership. And before we close, I'd love to invite you to make one commitment, not to me, to yourself. Complete this sentence. 1 year from today, I will own blank. Say it out loud, write it down, share it with someone that you trust, and bring it to our Financial Feminism live conversation this week. Because there's something powerful that happens when women stop hiding their dreams and start speaking them into existence with a plan to match. We're not chasing perfection. We're building progress. One ownership decision at a time. One conversation at a time. One generation at a time. Thank you for spending time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, would you do me a favor? Share it with one woman who works incredibly hard but has never been taught how to think about ownership. Then head over to ownthepurse.com and download your free ownership ladder assessment. Complete it, keep it, come back to it every year, because I truly believe the women who change their family tree won't be the women who simply earned more. They'll be the women who chose to own more. Until next week, keep climbing, keep building, and remember, your paycheck supports today. Ownership shapes tomorrow. Until next time.
Financial feminism, ownership, income, freedom. Financial feminism, more options, more ownership, more freedom.